When the federal government was fighting us behind the scenes, it wasn't because it disagreed with the discrimination. This is one of their documents, and it's a secret document, but I'm not violating any laws because we filed this as evidence. But they did try to hide it from us because we only caught this one through an access to information request. But you can see there that it's dated 2012, and you can see their own calculation of the shortfall, right? Now, this is a document they didn't want you, the public, to see. They expect you, the public, the people of the period, not to ask that second and third question, but to be satisfied with the speaking notes of the various prime ministers and ministers about how well they're doing for Aboriginal kids. Do you ever notice how they always say we're spending $6.84 billion on First Nations people, but they never mention what they would be spending if they were non-Aboriginal? Do you ever notice that? Right? Like, that's the piece, that's the missing side of the coin. Here's another PowerPoint slide. This shows the inequalities across all those programs, and instead of going to Federal Treasury Board and getting more money, what they're doing is taking money out of housing, out of the fund to build more schools and fire protection. So they're really shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic instead of going centrally to remedy the racial discrimination. And I've had some people say to me, well, they can't change this overnight. Those are people who actually are defending what I call incremental equality. The toxic potion of incremental equality, and that is when the inequalities are so deep and so cross-cutting that every year or so the government throws a few $100 million at it in education or health, and somehow we, the discriminated, are supposed to be grateful to the government. There's an expectation that we need to be grateful instead of complaining about still how far this falls short. Remember that 1967, those 67 studies, 1967? That was over 50 years ago, and we're still at it. The problem with incremental equality is it never comes. No one else in the country has to wait for it, and children's childhoods do not proceed incrementally.